This past weekend was my third ever track day and my first where I was using a proper racing suspension. The first two track days, I was actually using the stock suspension on my 92 Civic here. So what we're gonna do here in this video is take a look at my lap times and each corner based off of the stock suspension versus the racing coilovers. So as soon as I got the car, I went out to the track. Everything was stock. It was like the most fun thing ever. But I've been upgrading as I go. So right now I have a D16 Y8 engine with SI transmission. These are 949 racing wheels, 15x8, and Toyo R888Rs wrapped in it, 225, 50, 15. So the next obvious upgrade for me was the suspension. I wanted to go to this awesome set of coilovers, and for me, that was BC Racing. They really stood out as just a great company that you can go to and actually customize your spring rate. They valve the shocks according to the spring rate you pick. And then even once that is done, after you've been running them, you can change the spring rate plus or minus 2 kilograms, and it will still be within how they valve the shock. And so what I've chosen here for the fronts is a set of 14 kilogram springs, Swift springs, and then for the rears, I have 12 kilograms. Honestly, those numbers were a little arbitrarily picked. I knew I wanted something stiffer than what I have in my red car there, so it was something that's not a street setup. I wanted something more oriented for the track. It's debatable whether or not I could go stiffer or not yet. I really haven't had enough laps to really get to know them yet. But let's go ahead and dive into the laps here. So what I need to say here is that I only got one really good hot lap last weekend. If y'all saw last week's video, I did have an overheating issue. So, this is really just my gut reaction to how the coilovers felt. And we'll go in turn by turn. Just after that one good hot lap, I still got a new personal best time, beating my old time by over 3 seconds. So it's worth a look. What I'm gonna do here is actually start on one of the more dramatic turns where I noticed more of a dramatic difference between the stock suspension and the BC. So this is me running down to turn 5. It's the back end of the firm racetrack, and this clip here is on my stock suspension. Okay, so you'll see in this clip here, I'm actually chasing Trav. That's when I got my best lap time the last time I was out at the firm. And this was at the end of the day. This was after a full day of running, okay? So here we are, headed down to turn 5. You see, I really gotta get on the brakes hard, even before the 3 cone, and I'm really gingerly bringing it into that turn. So now let's compare that to the new clip. Here I am running down to the same one, braking much later at the 300 cone. That definitely could go much deeper still. That's just what I ended up with right now. But you see just a lot more confidence going through that turn. And if you can listen and hear that thing, the car really grips so much better with the new coilover setup. Take a listen. And so comparing turn 5, when you're seeing here on my GPS data, this is all logged by GPS, not from like my memory or something. Turn 5, I took that at 42.5 miles an hour when I was on my stock suspension. With the new suspension, the BC Racing coilovers, I took it at 3.2 miles an hour faster going through that turn. So I was at 45.7 miles an hour through there. And then you'll notice along that, it's a short little run to turn 6 then, I was carrying almost another full mile per hour just in that little short space of accelerating because I was able to take turn 5 much better. So now here, let's go ahead and take a look at 6, braking, really leaning with the car. You can hear the thing just really trying to struggle for traction, and man, I'm just leaning into that thing. That's with the stock suspension. Now here we go with the BC Racing coilovers. Much tighter, look at that. Body roll, really not eliminated, but man, it is drastically reduced. and I feel so much more confident getting on that power much earlier, and it just felt stronger. So again, turn 6, on the previous best lap time on my stock suspension, I took that at 44.3 miles an hour through that turn. With the new suspension, the BC Racing Coilovers, I took it at 47.8. So that's a 3.5 mile an hour difference. Now some of you may be saying like, oh, that's 3 miles an hour, what's that? Dude, that's a lot when you're going on track, going through a turn. That's a lot. Okay, and that sets up this next run of turns. They're called the S's. You really want to try to take them in as straight a line as possible. So here we are, Trav and I running down to there. Again, this is on the stock suspension. You see, I'm really trying to avoid those curbs. On the stock suspension, man, it just really unsettled the car. Try to go out nice and wide. And here you go, this is my new favorite turn right here, the hairpin. Let's take a look at that section with the BC Racing Coilovers. Pretty much running over those curbs there. You see much more confidence in what I'm doing, and then really leaning into that hairpin turn. Man, I love that turn right now. Let's go ahead and watch that again. And so here actually was a little bit surprising to me. I think this comes down to the lack of my running this past weekend with the new coilovers. Again, because the car wanted to overheat after the one lap, and I'll deal with that at a separate time. But I know I could push so much harder through here. Through the S's, I actually did carry about 3 miles an hour faster than I did with the stock suspension. So with the stock suspension here, I did 68.6 miles an hour through there. With the BC Racing Coilovers, I was able to get it up to 71.5. Where I definitely fell behind, in my own opinion, is going through the hairpin. Even though now it feels so much better, I am actually able to go into that corner a little deeper, a little harder, get on the brakes much harder because I know the car isn't going to get so unsettled like it was with the stock suspension, and I can actually take it a little bit of a different line. Trav was showing me how he's doing his, and I thought it was really good. He does a great job through there. So on my stock suspension, I carried 26.4 miles an hour through the hairpin, and then 27.7 miles an hour with the new BC Racing Coilovers. Only about a mile an hour faster. It's an improvement, but I think there's a lot of speed to be gained through there still. What I want to show you here now is my GPS. This is a comparison of both laps. So they're running at the same time on the timer here. You'll see there's the blue and the white dot. One is the new best lap time, the 132.5, and the other one is my previous best lap time on the stock suspension. The hairpin really set it up for me to where I could get out of that hairpin, get back on the gas much sooner, and look at the way that I'm able to pull away from the stock suspension setup. I mean, that starts to really gap there. That's big. You can see an obvious me gapping my ghost car, my previous best lap time, and the run down to the wall turn is a fairly significant chunk of track. So I'm getting up to a potential top speed much sooner, and I'm staying there longer, heading down to that wall turn. So then going into the wall turn, again, this is a corner where I think I can come in much deeper now. I can brake a heck of a lot later, and I can take a different line through here. I'm seeing some different stuff based off of what Trav is doing and just what I feel in the car now. Again, I just wasn't really able to get that sense yet after just one hot lap. I need more seat time. But take a look here at how I was doing it with the new suspension. And to me right here, the mile per hour says it all. With the stock suspension on the run down to the wall turn 8, I got to 70.3 miles an hour. That was with stock suspension. With the new suspension, the BC Racing Coilovers, I was able to get up to 76.5 miles an hour. I mean, that's huge. And that made up a big chunk of time compared to my previous best lap time. And then of course, going through the wall turn, again, I feel I could do that better. I think there's a lot more speed that can be carried into that turn and a lot more speed to come out of that turn and get back on the main straight. You'll see here in my new personal best time, I actually screwed up at the end of the wall turn there. The inside apex actually clipped it a little bit too much, and you'll see I had to kind of correct the steering, and I feathered the throttle because I was like, oh crap, thinking I was gonna go off track, you know, but I saved it nice. And even doing that, I still gained almost a mile an hour on my previous best, even with that mistake. So that's huge. If I could come out of that wall turn in the correct manner and put the power down, I'm pretty confident that I'm gonna carry 4 or 5 miles an hour more again on this main straightaway, and that could be a pretty significant amount of time. You know, I don't know what, but I think I could easily get into the 131s just by not having done that mistake. So then we go down to turn 10. Again, I feel like I could really brake a lot harder here and shorter of a distance actually. I think I'm braking decently hard, but I'm braking too much. I actually found myself starting to accelerate going before the apex, where I just felt like there was definitely grip in the tires still. But again, I couldn't keep going. The car was overheating, so I backed out of it. I had to. But I can't wait to get back out there and try that again. Stomp the brakes good and hard, throw the car in, try to use as much as that 225 sticky tire that I have on this car, and really toss it in, go all the way out wide and get back on the gas, and then start my run down to turns 2 and 3, and then start it all over again. So I know that's a ton of information to take in, you guys, like all at once, just like all these numbers and things that I'm saying, but the end point here is that coilovers and a proper racing suspension, proper spring setup from a reputable brand is absolutely worth your money and worth your time if you want to seriously start doing track days and having fun. Stock suspension was a blast, don't get me wrong. Like, it's just like a boat on the ocean out there, man. Like 20-some-year-old suspension, oh my goodness. It was scary, but fun. But to take that next step and to really start feeling the grip, testing the limits of your braking, of your turning capability, your corner exit, everything, you have to get into some coilovers. Even if you do a stiffer spring and shock combo, you know, like I know the Conies and the iBox springs are real popular, cool, man. You know, whatever you want to do, cool. But absolutely it's worth the time and the money to upgrade to this stuff. You start getting faster and you start kind of analyzing a little bit more like I'm doing here. And for me, I love nerding out on that stuff. And you must too if you're hanging out to the end of this video here. So I really want to thank you all so much for watching. I can't wait to get back out there. I got some more videos coming where I'm going to address those cooling issues, go over the car again, you know, and we're trying to set up another track day here in a few months. Thank you all so much for watching. Talk to you soon.